Hello everyone, I am the Chair of Chairs MK and welcome to the table. Today we are doing a deck tech of one of my commander decks. I have quite a few of these. I'm gonna do a deck tech of each one, and then once I run out of my physical decks, I might just run off the ones that I create online just on a whim. So today we have one of my personal favorite decks. This is one of my biggest pride and joys because it was a challenge deck. I had to make tribal 74 cents or less for each card at that time. So now it's currently not, but it is Adeliz the Cinder. She is a 2/2 for 3 mana, 1 blue red, so it's a blue red deck. It's a human wizard, flying haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 on a turn. So this is a wizard tribal spellslinger deck. We currently have, let me find the stopping point. Okay. Currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 creatures in here. That is our roster. I'll set this aside for now and put Adeliz up top. To go over the cards, one by one, we'll have ones that have specifics and ones that are just wacky. Bolus. Easy, solid choice. 2 mana, 1/3. When it ETBs, look at the top 3 for instant and sorcery. Reveal it, add it to hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Just a solid card, can get you your instant sorceries, and is a decent blocker early on. Narumiha, Master Wizard, can copy a spell when she ETBs, and is also a Wizard Lord. She is pretty nice, but I have yet to have a use for her. So actually have her copy anything. So that's just give or take. You can take her out of the deck, or you can keep her in. For the time being, she is currently in. The Assault Ravager. This is one of the quote-unquote can potentially murder someone in an ETB, because when it ETBs, it deals X damage to any target where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So having, let's say, 10 or more wizards on this ETBs, it's any target, so you can so I'm going to ping you for 12, and you could outright end up killing somebody. So it's a solid creature, really solid creature removal or planeswalker removal it's becoming a problem that can die. Facet Reader, he is 1/2, pay 1, tap, draw a card. In this card, he's filtered, but he can also he's filtered, but also gets card selection. And later, as we show in this deck, we will want cards in the graveyard for spells. Even Path Mage can make any creature unblockable until end of turn for 3 mana. Well, its ability anyway. It's cast. It's 4, but this is still a really solid card, and it actually has won me a couple games. New Rock of Inzomancer, similar deal. It's 3 mana, but it's a 2/1. It's unblockable itself. When it ETBs, it can make another creature unblockable until end of turn, which is pretty nice. And it can be very, very helpful. Archaeomancer, when it ETBs, you can get an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, it's 4 mana, it's a little costly, but that is what it is. We have Descendant of Soramaro, my bad. It's an interesting one. It's a 4 mana 2/3. You can pay 1 in blue, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of cards in your hand, and you can put them back in any order. This is it's more of card selection, and not really card filtering, but it's a more selection, and allows you to control how you want to be drawing, let's say, top 4 cards. It just hasn't really got a use for it because I have yet to play her. I have yet to even draw into her, actually. Burning Prophet, 2 mana 1/3, just a really good card. It has prowess, even though it doesn't say it. It gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and scry 1. Prowess is when you cast a non-creature spell. Usually they get +1/+1, but this is technically a prowess style effect. It just doesn't get the +1/+1, but it's a +1/+0. Alchemist's Apprentice, just a 2 mana 1/1 that you can tap. You can sacrifice an instant speed to draw a card. Pretty solid. And in this deck, we kind of want to be drawing cards as well, so there is that. Balmor, he is one of the later additions that I added to this deck, as a few months ago when Dominaria United came out. He is a 2 mana 1/3 flying. When you cast an instant sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample on a turn. Gaining the trample actually helps us out a lot, because that's kind of the big issue, because it couldn't even if it was potentially big, it just can't get through if they have enough flyers or just blockers. So there is that. And this does allow us to get through a lot. Cyclone Summoner, when he ETBs, it bounces all non-permanent, all permanents to the owner's hands except for giants, wizards, and lands. So it's essentially just a board wipe. It's one of the 4 in this deck, I believe. So it can be very, very helpful. And it actually has saved me a game a couple times, especially when he got actually bounced to my hand. That was fun. But Mermaid Mystic, probably one of the best wizards that they have made, in my opinion. She is a 3 blue, 1/5. When you cast an instant sorcery, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. It's one of the two creatures this deck creates, token-wise. And I think the devil token here was supposed to be a replacement for the bird illusion. I can't remember if Zariel is in this deck or not. I don't believe she is, though. Jory N, Ruin Diver. This is a card that people tend to look over, but I think she works really well in this deck, especially if you want to be flinging a lot of spells. When you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. She's a 3 mana 2/3. She is actually very, very solid and actually does quite a bit. She actually did help me win a game. Stony Brook Banneret. This is a card I didn't realize existed until later on of me building this deck. 1/1 Island Walk for 2. Merfolk, Wizard, Merfolk, and Wizard spells who play cost 1 less. So that actually helps a lot. That accounts for this, and there's quite a bit of Merfolk in here, but they don't stack, sadly. If it's a Merfolk Wizard, it isn't reduced 2. It just reduces 1 still, but that's perfectly fine. Since there is quite a lot of generic that we kind of want, that we need to get rid of, so having that does help a lot. Daring Apprentice. It is a creature with tap, sacrifice, counter target spell for 1 blue. It is a 1/1. This is actually going to be very, very good. If people don't realize it's on the board, you could potentially just counter a spell without realizing it. And it's actually really solid. Archivist. It's a 4 mana 1/1. Tap to draw a card. It's not great, but it was one of the cheaper cards that I had to do at the time. So, and that's why it's in this deck. Goblin Electromancer. Probably one of the... this is probably my second favorite wizard they've ever created, behind Mermaid Mystic. It just makes instant and sorcery spells cost 1 less. 2/2 for 2. Really in any Izzet deck that's heavy in spells. If not, then you're just kind of losing a bit. Aegir the Freezing Flame. It's a 3 mana 3/3 giant wizard. Whenever a creature, planeswalker, and an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, you draw a card. This has sneakily got me quite a lot of cards, and people don't realize how much this card can be really good. Siren Storm Tamer. It's a 1 mana 1/1 that can pay blue, sacrifice a counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature I control. It's actually really, really good. Sadly, you can't target your own spells since it's not targeting you, it's targeting the stack in a way, so that does not work. Storm Teacher Mage. It's a 2 mana flying haste, 1/3 with prowess. Not terrible. Rod Visionary. This is basically a Drenith Magistrate. No, Facet Reader, my bad. Not Drenith Magistrate. It's a different fucking card. Apologies for me cursing. But that is a different card entirely. This is instead of just 1 mana tap, it is a 2 mana tap, but it has 1 more defense than Facet Reader. So there is that. Even One Mage. It's the same thing as Adeliz, but it only affects itself. So there is that, but it does not have haste either. Driscoll Decophile gives this deck an alternate win con besides swinging wide and dealing mass damage. This is just easy, get no max hand size, I mean your upkeep. You have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game, and you pay for draw a card. While the second abilities on the stack on the upkeep, you can draw cards until you get to 13, and then whenever the upkeep resolves, if you have 13, you win. Kaza Royal Chaser. This is a card that I didn't know existed until when I saw it. But 2 mana, flying haste, 1/2, tap it. The next instant search spell you cast this turn costs X less, where X is the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. So this can be very, very scary. This can be very, very sneaky in how strong this is. Is they can make any instant of sorcery just like a single mana or 2 mana, and that just requires the color pips. This can be really, really good. Nimbus of Perun. This card has no real explanation that needs to be said, but The Curiosity combo is not in this deck. I did that on purpose because I didn't want to make an infinite loop. But when you draw a card, it's one damage to your target. When he has an instant spell, draw a card. Can't be countered. Big body. Very, very good card. Electrostatic Infantry. It is a 2 mana 1/2. My bad. Trample. When you cast instant sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. Very simple. Very straightforward. That's the creatures out of the way. Now we have the instants. I did find some weird instants for this. So, if I'll have to explain them. Ionize. It's a counter spell that does and it deals 2 damage to the spell's controller. Very simple. Blinding Spray. Creatures your opponent's control get -4/-0 until on a turn. Draw a card for 5 mana. This has actually saved my life a couple times, and the draw card is also just a nice bonus. Temptress Insight, just Divinity, but with Jumpstart, draw 2 cards. Very good. Ether Spout's one of the 4 board wipes in the deck. Each attacking creature your opponent put at the top to bottom of the library. Very, very simple. And this has also saved my life several times. Convolute, counter target spell, unless its controller pays 4. That's a 3 mana with just 1 color pip. Very good, and also with Raza from earlier, we can make this a 1 mana counter. Brainstorm, kind of easy to talk about. 1 mana, draw 3, put 2 back. Very, very good. Sock Coming, one of the other counter spells. I think there's like 7. I think there's like 6 or 7 in this deck. Counter target spell, and you can foretell it for 2 mana to exile it, and 1 in blue to flip it over. Very, very solid. Actually has sneakily won me. Sneakily got some really good stuff. Factor Fiction. Real top 5, an opponent puts in 2 piles, and you pick one to put in your hand and one in your grave. This can be really good or really bad depending on how your opponents want to deal you the hands they choose. You can either go in your favor quite heavily or hurt you in the game in the long run. It's all RNG with this card. Starstorm, one of the 4 board wipes like I was talking about earlier. You can cycle away for 3, or you can pay X, where it deals X damage to each creature. So yeah, it can get rid of a board, but it requires a lot of mana to do so. Thought Collapse, another counter target spell. It's controlling mills 3 cards. Sinister Sabotage, counter target spell. Surveil 1. Look at the top card and you put it on the top or in your grave. And both of these are 2 blue and 1. Now here's 2 of the weird cards that I found. We'll go with one of my favorites. This is going to become a pet card, actually. Active Volcano. Destroy target blue permanent or return target island to its owner's control. This is a very, very weird card. It's very old. And this is sneakily just weird. People are like, that does what? And it's quite funny, actually. And then we have Psychic Trance. This is another weird one I found. This is from, I want to say, Onslaught with that symbol. I could be wrong. You can correct me in the comments. It's a blue for 2 instant until end of turn. Wizards you control gain tap counter target spell. It can basically turn your entire board into counter spells. It's such a weird card, and I absolutely love it. All right, now you're on to the sorceries. We have Charter Course, 2 mana, draw 2, then discard a card unless you attack the creature this turn. Very solid. Chain Reaction, the final board wipe of this deck. When it deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. 2 red and 2. Very solid. Barring 100,000 Arrows, another card that I really, really enjoy. This is a 2 mana in blue sorcery. Draw a card for each tapped creature target opponent controls. I have drawn up to 15 cards with this card before, and that was very fun. And then my opponent's turn, directly after mine, he copied my spell from the grave and then did the exact same thing. Council Sword Tommy, 3 mana, draw 2 cards, very solid. Act of Treason, you steal a creature until end of turn, untap it, and it gains haste for 3 mana. Secrets of Golden City, one of my favorite draw spells. 2 blue and 1, it has Ascend, so it requires you to have 10 or more permanents to get the City's Blessing. And this is the only card that looks for City's Blessing, by the way. After using this card, and if you can't use it again later in the game, then you don't have to worry about City's Blessing. Draw 2 cards. If you have City's Blessing, draw 3 cards instead. It's a very solid draw spell. Blazing Volley. It's a 1 mana sorcery cantrip. Deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent's control. This has sneakily got me through a board, but it's also just a 1 mana cantrip, so it also really helps with Adeliz, Balmore, etc. Crash Through, another 1 mana cantrip. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. This is one of the 2 ways to gain trample in this deck. And you can draw a card off it as well. Crack the Earth, another cantrip. This is a weird one. Sorcery, or it's an arcane spell, for one. Each player sacrifices a permanent. This can be really good or really bad. Just depends on how early or depending on the scenario in your game. Now we have the artifacts. And there's not many. There's only 7 in here compared to the other cards. We have a Chaos Wand. This you pay for, it's 3 mana to cast it. And it's a 4 mana ability, tap. Target player exiles target cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and put the exile cards that weren't casted this way on the bottom of that library in a random order. No, you can still choose to not cast the instant or sorcery, and if you do, it also goes back on the bottom. Diviner's Wand. It is a 3 mana artifact, tribal artifact, wizard equipment. Oh, look at that. Equipped creature has, whenever you draw a card, key detail right there, this creature gets +1/+1 against flying until end of turn, and it also has pay for draw a card. And it's equipped for 3, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may attach Diviner's Wand to it. So that's actually really good. Fire Diamond, red mana rock. Is it Locket, mana rock that can tap red or blue, and pay for tap, sack, draw 2 cards. First Bauble, can get some land ramp. Is it Signet, tap, pay 1 tap, add red blue. And it's also the mana rock. And then Wand of Wonders. This is a fun one. You pay for tap, roll a d20. Each opponent exiles cards from atop their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card, then shuffles the rest into their library. You may cast up to X instant or sorcery spells from among the cards with this way without paying their mana costs. 1 to 9 is 1, 10 to 19 is 2, and then that 20 is 3. So you can get up to, and it's each opponent, so you can get up to 3 spells. However, if you choose not to cast the instant or sorcery, those cards remain exiled. They don't get put back, but everything else gets put back. Now the enchantments. This actually has quite a bit of enchantments. We have Wizard class. That's kind of expected. It's wizards, after all. 1 mana. When a mana enchantment class, you have no maximum hand size. And pay 2 and 1 to level it up. When you do, draw 2 cards. Then for level 3, pay 4 and 1. Whenever you draw a card, put a wound counter on target creature you control. Very simple. I have yet to actually get it there. 1,000-Year Storm. This is a really good enchantment, actually. Very glad it went down in price. 4 is a 6-mana enchantment for blue-red. It basically gives each of your spells Storm, which is very, very good. You cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you cast before this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. Your instants and sorceries just gain Storm. That's really what it does. It's very good. Cartouche Knowledge, one of the many auras in this deck, actually. 1 in blue. When it ETBs, draw a card, enchant creature you control. Enchant the creature gets +1/+1 and fast flying. Arcane Bombardment. Remember when I said we wanted instant sorceries in the grave if we couldn't get them back? This is why. This was one of the 2 key cards in here besides 1,000-Year Storm. It is a 6-mana enchantment, 2 red and 4. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, keyword each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. Then copy each card exile with Arcane Bombardment. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. So you can exile up to 6 instant or sorceries from your grave, and you can still cast them at that point. Though if you do cast something at instant speed, the sorceries, I believe, get to be cast at that point. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe since they appear on the stack at that time, then you can. Unless the ruling says otherwise. However, if this gets flickered, then let's say you exiled 5 before it gets flickered, it does not see the original Arcane Bombardment's exile pile. It restarts. So be warned if you're playing against a pod that likes to flicker like opponent's permanents. Arcane Flight, 1 mana aura. Enchant a creature gets +1/+1 as flying. You can put this on anybody if you want to get some politicking in. Aqueous Form, same way, but this one you want on your side. 1 blue. Enchant a creature can't be blocked, and when enchant a creature attacks you, scry 1. Gives you some card selection. And finally, one of my favorite enchantments, Betrayal. This is a weird card from Visions, I want to say. It is a single blue. Only enchant a creature an opponent controls. You can't do your own. This is why. Enchanted creature, whenever it becomes tapped, you draw a card. This can be really, really good, especially if you toss this on a mana dork. I have drawn many, many cards off of mana dorks because of this. And now the land base. We have Path of Ancestry. It is basically a tribal land, essentially. When each of these tapped, when you tap it, add 1 mana of any color. You can command its color identity, which is only what we need. When it is fast to cast a creature spell, like she has a creature type with your commander, you scry 1. It's gonna be really good. And let me actually organize some lands here. I don't think I did that. I did do that. Okay. Now we just have basic lands. We don't have any dual lands in here. Even though if you want to upgrade it, that is probably one of the first things I would do. But I want to keep it just basics, and instead of just tossing in the cheap is it Guildgate, Sulphur Falls, the snow ones, etc., etc. This you can toss those in, or the temple, or the Scryland as well. You can toss that in here as well. So mountains, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have 18 mountains, and I believe we have 17 islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 islands. I am correct. It is a 36 land deck. And I will give some suggestions if you guys want to toss in some more things. One of my favorite red spells is called. I'm blanking on its name. That's not Temple Discovery. I'll have to. Is it on my deck list? I believe it is. Because I can't forget it. I know what it does, but I can't remember its name. It is a 3 mana, so 1 in red, instant. Choose target opponent. You may have them take 4 damage. If they don't, you draw 3 cards, and it has Jumpstart. I forget its name, but that is one of my favorite red cards. I highly recommend it, tossing it in here, because it's really solid, because it has Jumpstart. Then if you want to toss in some of the more expensive wizards, you can absolutely do that. You can toss in like Windfall, if you want to. Wheel of Fortune, if you have the money. You can absolutely do that. Or if another card I kind of recommend is Reconnaissance Mission. It's a 4-mana enchantment, so blue and 2. Whenever a creature you control does common damage to a player, you may draw a card, and it also has cycling for 2. So it will also give this deck a lot more draw power. You can absolutely do that. Reliquary Tower could be also a really good addition as well. And I believe that does it. The deck list will be in the description. And if you want to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be nice. And if you guys want to toss into your suggestions in the comments, and there can be a discussion on what you guys think is better, what you guys think is worse, I would like to hear your comments. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a great day.